Thank you, Cathaoirleach. And first and foremost, I'd like to welcome the Ambassador to the Chamber here this afternoon to listen to what is a very, very important debate at a very, very difficult time. And it is very difficult to overstate the significance of what is actually happening in Ukraine, of the dangers that Russian aggression holds for international peace. The potential for a devastating conflict is, unfortunately, very real. And I want to take the opportunity to restate my party's commitment to the principles inherent in the United Nations Resolution 262, adopted by the General Assembly of the UN on the 27th of March 2014 in relation to the territorial integrity of Ukraine and its sovereignty. The UN resolution specifically calls on all states to refrain in their international relations from the threat or use of force against the territorial integrity or political independence of any state, and to settle their international disputes by peaceful means. And from the outset, we in Sinn Féin have appealed to all sides to attempt to achieve a peaceful resolution, and to use the Minsk Agreement as a means to pursue dialogue towards a peaceful solution. And I have personally offered Sinn Féin support to the Ambassador of Ukraine last week at the Committee on Foreign Affairs, in which she attended. And again, I restate my party's support again here this evening. I've also met with the Russian Ambassador to voice our concerns and opposition to the Russian actions. And I believe that Ireland has a role to play in the international arena in search for a peaceful outcome. Ireland, as a member of the UN Security Council, as a neutral nation, has the moral standing within the international community and a political platform on the UN Security Council and within the EU to actively pursue a course of action to push for a de-escalation of the current crisis in Ukraine. And we must, as a neutral nation, be seen to represent and to remain a voice for calm and reason, even in these difficult times, using our position at the UN and within the EU to push for a peaceful resolution to the crisis. And it is important that domestic politicians here in Ireland do not exploit this very, very serious crisis to attempt to challenge our neutrality by pushing us down the road towards participation in any future EU army. Ireland is and should remain a neutral country, and I want to take this opportunity to state that I believe that our neutrality should be enshrined within our Constitution. And I want to also put on the record Sinn Féin's opposition to the occupation and annexation of the sovereign territory of any people by force, be that in Eastern Europe or indeed in the West Bank. For it is impossible to avoid making comparisons between the urgency of the response of the United States, of Britain and the EU to the crisis in Ukraine, to their tepid response to the ongoing human rights abuses within Palestine, to the crime of apartheid, and to the tacit acceptance by the Trump administration of the Israeli seizure of the Golan Heights. The territorial integrity of all peoples must be respected, not just those that serve the strategic interests of a powerful few. I also want to welcome the comments from the Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi, who stated last week that the sovereignty, independence and territorial integrity of any country should be respected. China, as a close ally of Russia, is in a unique position to exercise influence, to convince the Russians to search for a solution through dialogue and consultation. And we are addressing a very live issue which is developing hour by hour, even by minute. And only this evening, I believe, there's another cyber attack on Ukraine as we speak. Today, we also hear that Ukraine is mobilising its reserves, calling for Ukrainian citizens to leave Russia, and that it is on cusp of a general mobilisation. And alarmingly, a top US diplomat has reportedly cancelled a meeting with a Russian counterpart, all signalling, unfortunately, an increasing escalation in tensions. And I believe that all attempts at a diplomatic solution must continue. Dialogue must continue at all expenses. Difficulties in discerning the reality of what is happening are compounded by deliberate and misleading campaigns of disinformation. It is unfortunate that the web of lies which were spun by the Bush administration and the British government around the presence of weapons of mass destruction to justify the invasion of Iraq have left us with a deep imprint of scepticism when we listen to the sabre rattling of Boris Johnson. And this is the same Boris Johnson who is the Prime Minister of Britain and the leader of the Conservative Party, a party with a secret advisory committee of ultra-rich donors who enjoy complete access to the most senior members of the British government. Some of these mega-rich donors are known to have links with the Putin regime. And one member of his secret group has been revealed to be the wife of President Putin's former finance minister. Incredibly, when Boris Johnson talks about sanctions, he is also, and maybe unwittingly, talking about members of the inner circle of the British government. Now that we in Ireland can take a high-handed and moral superior, not that we in Ireland can take a high-handed or indeed a morally superior position in relation to financial dealings with Russian oligarchs, Ireland has long been a destination and a washing ground for billions of euros of Russian oligarch money. As far back as 2019, Sinn Féin exposed a total of 106 shell companies registered in Ireland with Russian connections, firms with no employees, with no fixed assets, paying minimal, if any, tax. An issue my colleague Mairead Farrell has addressed on a number of occasions in this chamber in the past. The failure of the financial regulatory system is shocking. It is this weak financial regulation and lax oversight that has made Ireland such an attractive location for Russian oligarchs linked to the regime to raise funds. A total of 118 billion has been funnelled through this state to Russia. In one instance, a bank which is part owned by President Putin himself. In another instance, a bank described by the Russian Central Bank as a special purpose bank for serving military and industrial complex businesses. Another company under sanction by the US used a shell company registered in Ireland to raise funds in 2014 and again in 2016. The responsibility for this lies with successive governments who have presided over a financial system described as the Wild West of European finance. So just to conclude, I think it is important that this House sends out a clear message that we stand up for international law, we stand up for humanitarian law, irrespective as to whether it's in Eastern Europe or indeed the West Bank. And I think it is important that we send out a clear message here this evening, and Sinn Féin will support a motion, a cross-party motion, that is based on the General Assembly UN resolution of 2014 that deals with the territorial integrity of Ukraine.